to the Red and Blue Review Podcast. Nick, Ian, Jell, and the rest of the crew will be your hosts. Sit back, enjoy, and get your comments in.
Well, a very good evening. Even I wasn't expecting that introduction. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this special international Euro 24 edition of the Red and Blue Review Podcast. With me, your host, Ian Noble, tonight. I've got here my official Euro 24 Budweiser beer, so cheers. And I hope you're going to join us. Do put your comments in the chat, and we'll try and get to as many of them as we can as we go through this show tonight. Joining with me on the show, I can't even get my words out tonight. Joining with me on the show tonight, we have Mr. Nick Philpott. Is he joining me? There he is. Look, there you go. Complete with his England shirt from New Teeth and England shirt from...
Do you want to borrow them?
No, I don't want to borrow them.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry about intruding on your summer, but it's a great suggestion by Mr. Noble to do a pre-Euro show. I hope you're all well.
You can't blame me for doing this show. I mean, it was my idea, but you said, yeah, go for it. So here we are doing a show because there's lots to talk about. So there we go. And usual suspects, also Lord Hollyoake. Is he there? Here he is in his kitchen as usual. Hello, Joe. You all right, mate?
Yeah, man. Everyone all right?
All good, mate.
All good.
Good,
all the
good.
better for you, my friend. Does that old beard need a bit of a trim of yours, or is it?
No. This is a work in progress.
In progress, yeah.
It is. No, it is. It's. I'm going to go for the hairy biker look. I think.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Hairy biker.
I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it a year, and if it turns disastrous,
You got your head upside down.
Very
but that's
good.
it.
Very good.
Hold this off and grow this long.
There we go. Oh, good. And joining me also on the show tonight is the fourth partner in crime, Mr. Paul Gear, aka the Real Panel, with an England shirt, a red and away shirt. Hello, Paul. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Ian. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to. It's been a while, isn't it? Feels like, yeah. But it doesn't seem to have stopped though, which is great.
Has been a while, but not as long as it usually is, because we don't normally do a show at this time of year. So, it's only a few weeks, really. And you were threatening to burn your England shirts after last Friday. You were telling us.
Yeah, well, obviously, you and I were there, Ian, and a couple of our Yaz and Ian, our other friend, who we decided to go and see the England game. And then it was a right bonus that there were 4 Palace players in the squad, so we thought we might see a few. It was nice to see a couple, but yeah, we certainly left that game a little bit deflated, and our tags of favourites was sort of swirling in the wind, shall we say.
We will talk more about that later on, my friend. But let's have a chat first of all. Before we have a chat, the season, of course, is done and dusted. Palace have got a top half finish of 10th place in the Premier League with the best ever points tally of 49 points and just a -1 goal difference, having won 6 of the final 7 games. We just didn't want the season to end, but end it did. And now all the players are on holiday. Except they're not, are they? Because they're playing in the Euros or the Copa America or something else. Palace have got 5 players at the Euros, which starts this Friday. The best represented club within the England 26-man squad includes Mark Gahey, Eberechi Eze, Adam Wharton and Dean Henderson, plus Joachim Andersen, an opponent for our England boys for Denmark in match day 2. There we are. There's a picture of Joachim and Mark. Palace centre-backs facing off against each other in match day 2. But that's not all, guys, because Copa America starts a week later on the 21st of June. And we have 3 players on duty stateside, with Chris Richards representing hosts USA and both Jeffrey Lerma and Daniel Munoz lining up for a Colombian side who have now gone 22 unbeaten after their sound thrashing this last week of the US. And just to please Jell, Jordan Ayew scored a stoppage time winner to beat Mali 2-1 and then bagged himself a hat-trick 4 days later as Ghana beat Central African Republic 4-3 in what was his 104th cap for his country, both being World Cup qualifiers. He made his debut. Mali. Yeah, do you know when he made his debut for Ghana, Jell? Any ideas?
When?
You don't care. Is that what you said?
2002.
No, not as long ago as that. 2010. And he scored his first goal in 2014. He's only the 3rd Ghanaian player to top 100 caps. And then finally, later in the summer, we believe that both Michael Olise and Jean-Philippe Mateta will represent France in the Olympic squad on home soil, with the final not due until the 9th of August. And we'll talk more about that one later. But guys, the big news is that Palace have 4 lads making the final cut for Euro 2024. The likes of Jack Grealish, Harry Maguire, Maddison, they're not included, of course. And I guess it was a bit of a surprise, maybe, that we had so many lads included in the squad. Surprised, were we? Paul, were you surprised for all 4 made the cut?
Yes and no. I think once we saw the full squad, I think there was enough doubts just through injuries to think that our boys had quite a good chance. There was a couple there that obviously the goalkeeper Trafford was never going to go. I don't think Quansah, the Liverpool guy, was going to go, and we always knew a couple were going to drop out injury wise. So I thought that it was touch and go for maybe Walton, but as we'll come on to with the games, I think the first game the friendly they had before the squad was chopped, it gave a few answers to Gareth Southgate, which pushed him down the way. I mean, I was quite pleased. I predicted, I think, on a show 3 or 4 weeks before the end of the season that Walton would go.
Did you? Have we got that clip, Nige? Did Paul? Yeah. If you said you did, you did. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did. Yeah. I'll hands up. I said Henderson wouldn't go, so I was 1 in, 1 out on that respect. But obviously, Gay and Eze, I think were always shoo-ins. But yeah, no, I think they're there on merit. I think it's well deserved, and yeah, no, I think you can't argue with it, and they're making a good impression by all accounts.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Joe, you've seen a few England games in your time. Which one of the 4 surprised you most about their inclusion in the squad?
Henderson. And I fully expected, upon hearing about the left back problems, that instead of Henderson going, that I would have. I mean, I can't believe Mitchell's not gone. I'm astounded that he's not gone. But yeah, I mean, obviously they, the powers that be deem that, the Man United left back who hasn't played, played Euro football is better than Tyrick Mitchell. So
yeah, he last kicked a ball in February apparently for Man United, sure, and they were trying to get him fit for the cup final, and he never made that. It's
a shambles, really. I really do think it's a shambles. And it sort of makes a little bit of a mockery of the way that our players have been picked. To pick Eze, to pick Walton, and Gay. I mean, Gay is sort of not an England regular, but he is sort of now rated as an England. He's definitely a good squad player. But to not include Mitchell, who has got England experience, and like I said to you, I was there when he made his debut. Last year, so I'm a little bit disappointed. I'm surprised Henderson's gone, to be honest with you. I thought Trafford would go in front of him, but it is what it is.
Yeah, don't forget Trafford didn't even finish the season as Burnley's number 1. He was on the bench for Burnley for the last few weeks.
But he's so highly rated within football. I mean, you can go on most fanzine websites and talk about goalkeepers, and he's a move away from one of the big boys very, very soon.
I'm going to come back to Dean Henderson a little bit later on. Nick, Tyrick Mitchell not going for you, right decision? Do you agree with Joe?
Well, first of all, 2 or 3 things I do agree with Joe. Yeah, I think he should have gone. I don't know whether there is a facility to bring him in as a late replacement, an injury replacement at some point before the tournament starts. But a couple of other things I want to get to, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Ian, you asked me a question a week or so ago. Would there be an appetite for a podcast to do for the Euros? Congratulations, mate. Looking at the people that are out there already, good evening to each and every one of you, wherever you're watching this or listening to this. I can see you all out there. Philip, Rob, Paul, Tom, Joan, good evening to everybody. Thank you for joining us on this. I think it's going to be a one-off show anyway, but great to see you. We've got lots to talk about, and Ian's going to cover most of that off later on. But going back to your original question, Ian, you were asking, were we surprised? I think what happened during the course of that day, just before, or the day before, that the squad actually got finalised, the final 24 or whatever it was, 26.
26, yeah.
I think what was more interesting, I was watching Sky quite a lot that day, and one by one, the players Grealish has left the training camp. Maguire's left the training camp, and all the time that was the day was ticking over. I'm thinking, hold on a minute. Our boys have really got an opportunity here. Okay, maybe he does fancy him, and that's how the day developed for me. Watching the others go, thinking, well, none of ours have gone yet. Okay, and that, to me, yeah, I think again, Joel was right. I think Henderson was probably the surprise out of the four. I thought Wharton probably wouldn't make the cut, but then of course he played so well in the friendly. Very strange day. That was a very strange day.
Yeah, and I think this squad was announced a day or two earlier than people were expecting it. I think it came out like before the Iceland game.
And I think we did that because they would have been leaked.
After the Iceland game. Now, Mark and Ebb started in the 3-0 win, of course, against Bosnia up at Newcastle. They were both replaced on the hour mark, or 62 minutes to be precise. And Adam Wharton came off the bench at that same moment, and he hugely impressed. So, Paul, you watched that game. You felt that Adam Wharton played his way into the England squad in that 30-minute cameo, so to speak.
Yeah, I think he just confirmed to Southgate and the rest of the players and everyone who needed to be impressed that the reasons he was picked, he backed them up, and he did exactly what he came on. Every pass he tried to do was forward. He had 100% pass completion rate. He didn't give the ball away. He played some nice short, long passes, everything they said he would do. And, yeah, he's a progressive footballer. And I think he makes the tempo of the team tick over because he doesn't stop the play. He keeps it rolling. And, yeah, he couldn't have had a better 30 minutes to come on, really. And we scored twice after he'd come on as well when we were sort of struggling to score. So I think from his point of view, he did nothing but good for himself that day. So that was great. I think all the guys did that. I think Gay, as you say, played an hour. He looked a little bit rusty in the first half, but he'd only had one start before that. He got booked for a bit of a challenge that was actually quite unlike him. But he was no worse than any other defender in that respect. And obviously, Eze was man of the match. I mean, he was doing everything he's done for Palace in the last 2 months of the season. He gets the ball, head down, he goes to goal, forward thinking. And it's everything you want from a football team, attack-minded, trying to score goals. It's very un-Gareth Southgate, to be honest. More
over Glasner.
Pre-Palace, pre-Glasner. But yeah, it was, I don't think any of our boys had any issue that day. A few of them impressed as well. But as Nick says, as the names were drip feeding, once Curtis Jones was gone, I was pretty sure Walton was going to go. And just on your other point, Nick, there are facilities to bring players in up to like the first game, but the problem we have there is that Gareth Southgate has already effectively written Luke Shaw out the first game. He's basically said he might make the second game, which is just crazy to me. So obviously we'll pass the deadline for that, and they've obviously already accepted that, which is madness. But yeah, so our boys did well on that. A few other people didn't. I think Grealish came on. He got an assist with his one cross, but he didn't. I don't think he did much. He just proved like all season he's gone backwards. So I wasn't surprised to see him dropped. But yeah, it was a good night for the Palace players.
Thanks, Paul. Nick, I'm going to bring you in and then Gel.
Yeah, only just add to a little bit and meet Paul's bone there. Okay, he was going on about his 30-minute cameo, but I think he goes deeper than that. From what I've read and what I've seen on TV, he was Walton. Was actually impressing the week prior to that in training. He impressed all the coaches in England. Obviously, impressed Southgate as well. But and most importantly, his colleagues. They're all singing very highly of him. So, yeah, you're right to highlight his 30-minute cameo, but I think it is actually deeper than that. I think it went further back than that.
Indeed. Jamie Chambers asks, is this all good for Palace? It's a really great question, Jamie, and we're going to come to that later in the show. Gel.
Nige, the last question you put up, or someone said something about they're not over and out with Mitchell.
Briscoe made that comment.
Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, it's a little bit sort of moot, really, because the thing is, it's not whether we fancy him, but stat for stat, like this season, he's a better left back. So they'd say that they'd probably bring Trippier from right back to left back, which is and the thing is, at left back, Mitchell's a better left back than Trippier. My personal, not a better right back. It's horses for courses. But the other thing is as well is that no matter what, at the moment, Mitchell is a better left back than Shaw because he's playing football. So we've not got loads of left backs. It just amazes me that you know that we. I mean, if they turn around and said, "Well, look, because of the lack of left backs, we play three at the back," and I'd be like, "Fantastic! We got wing backs again." But he's just going to be boredom of 4-4-1-1 probably.
Okay.
You know, if we were playing 3-5-2, then fantastic.
Yep, absolutely. Jill, thank you for that. Paul, I'll bring you in a second. Paul Bristow, I think the panel here disagree with you, mate. I think most of us think that Tyrick Mitchell should have gone to the Euros. Maybe Gareth just looked at it. I think I said this to you, Paul, at Wembley the other night. And he probably looked at it. I'll pick 4 Palace players already. I can't pick a fifth. That'll be ridiculous. People will laugh at me if I do that. But in all seriousness, Tyrick Mitchell, I think, has done enough in the second half of the season, especially under Oliver Glasner, when he's played much better as a left wing back than any of us really expected him to play. I think he had a sticky spell at the early part of the season under Roy. He wasn't great. Neither was anyone great, to be honest with you, for large parts of that early part of the season. But I think Mitchell has done enough. And Agel, as you quite rightly say, he's got a couple of England caps under his belt already. It was a bit surprising to see him left out, given England's problems at left back. If they had other options, if Chilwell had been fit, if Shaw had been fit, then I would have had no issue with it at all. But I think overall, on balance, I think he was just unlucky to be left out.
Yeah, I mean, on Tyrick, I saw a horrendous. I'm not a big fan of some of these pundits that think they're football experts, and I think we should be on these Sky News shows and stuff ahead of them because we know more about football than they ever do. But I saw a horrendous take, and someone claimed that the reason Mitchell wasn't going is because he's been playing left wing back, and England wouldn't play that for the I was just turned it straight over.
No, crazy. No minutes for Henderson in the 2 games. Okay, I was a little bit surprised that he didn't get the second half against Iceland. Is Henderson England's number 2? Joe?
Nah, sorry, mate. I mean, he is the number 3 out of 3 goalkeepers. He is the number 3.
Okay.
So, I mean, I saw an interview with a few the other day. And I was talking about Pickford. And for me, Pickford is mad as a March hare. You never know what he's going to do, how he's going to, But having said that, they do say that you have to be a little bit mad to be a goalkeeper. And out of the 3, I'm going to be controversial. I have always liked Aaron Ramsdale, always. And I thought at the beginning of the season that if we had any money and he was looking to be, looking to be a number 1, I'd love to have him at Palace. I really would. I think he's, with his experience of playing with top class. My personal thing is he's a better shot stopper than Jordan Pickford. I think his distribution is better. But public opinion after him, being ceremoniously dumped out of the first team for Arsenal in favour of a goalkeeper that I do not think is better than him. He seems to be out of public favour, which is a real shame.
Paul Bristow says Johnson is England's number 2 and Henderson number 4. Okay, I won't disagree with that. And I think, in all of this, Sam Johnston will be looking from afar. I think he got married recently, didn't he? Took the opportunity to get wed. He'll be looking, thinking that could have been me. And yet, earlier in the season, he had the shirt at Palace and Henderson was injured. So that's what happens in football. And it was there's a certain amount of irony that he got injured on England duty as well. But anyway, so not number 2 for you. Nick, would you think Henderson is ahead of Ramsdale or not really?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I mean, in fairness to Henderson, I thought he played well for us back into the season, but internationally, no, I don't think he's up there. And Johnson clearly would be above him if he was fit. What he does bring to the party, of course. And again, I've heard this mentioned in the England training camps over the last week or so, is what he brings to the background, okay? He's great in the dressing room. He's great, camaraderie he's brilliant for. Is he number 2? No chance. Okay,
yeah, cool. Jill, final word to you on this then.
Just quickly, going back to Henderson, just at Palace, I was a big critic of his earlier on in the season, but he has definitely got better and better and made, he's grown into that number 1 spot at Palace. So it wouldn't surprise me if he's still there at the start of next season. But it's all good having 2 goalkeepers that we know we can trust now.
Indeed, and I wasn't going to talk about this at this stage, but I think I will now because we're talking goalkeepers. Do we think that both goalkeepers will stay next season or when fully fit. I mean, George has just said in the chat, Forest are after Johnston. I mean, yeah. Can we keep both of those goalkeepers happy at Palace, or will one of them inevitably have to leave?
Forest under some embargo already. So how are they going to be able to afford 15,
I
20
don't
million?
worry about Forest. Paul Gear, what do you think on that one?
I think they'll be able to keep them certainly for next season. It's all about newness. I think obviously they've both played under Glasner. They've both impressed under Glasner, so they'll both think they've got a fair shot of being number one. If one of them has the shirt all next season, then the other one will want to go. But I imagine we'll be like other clubs. One will play in the cups, one will play in the league. So you can keep that for a bit. Like I say, with the new manager, and they're both trying to. I think it will. Once they get like Ramsdale at Arsenal. Once it's become clear to you, you're only there as a second choice. He'll want to leave. So I think next season they'll both be in with a shout and be trying to get the number one shirt. Very
good. Okay. There was a great piece in the Iceland programme, Paul, wasn't there, at Wembley last Friday on Palace. I think we've got a picture of it tonight, haven't we? Coming up. There we are. That's the match day programme. It's sort of, I'm just not sure what we've done to that picture. It's sort of been scrunched together. But you've got the four players there, glad all over. And then it goes on. We haven't got a picture of the other pages, but it's got a nice little paragraph at each of the four lads. Basically saying Crystal Palace's late season surge up the Premier League table not only secured the Eagles an impressive top half finish, it also caught the attention of England manager Gareth Southgate. And there's a nice little timeline as well. Paul, I'm sort of throwing you under the bus a bit here. Do you want to pick out a couple of key stats from that timeline?
Yeah,
interesting stats that from 2016 right up to current day, mentioning all four players. Walton was in short trousers in 2016, something like that, yeah.
Well, Eze, also, it makes the point that Eze made his debut in 2016. So it's taken him 8 years in some respects to get to the England squad. But I always think when people were questioning about Eze and whether he was being picked, a lot of people forgot he was in the provisional squad for the last Euros and then did his Achilles on the day it was being announced. So Gareth's always had his eye on him. But yeah, so he obviously started as a QPR player. It's interesting. Henderson made his professional debut that year. And Mark Gay obviously made his under-17s England debut. So they've been around the block, these players. It's quite interesting. But you go through and it highlights all these different things. As I say, Eze making his under-21 debut in 2019, same as Mark Gahey. So they've been in and around the international scene for a while. So it's no surprise there. And then obviously Gahey joined us in 21, Eze in 22. But I mean, I still can't get over the fact that really it's Adam Walton. I know I've seen him being interviewed on Sky today. He did the press conference out in Germany. The rise that he's had, I mean, it's Roy the Rover stuff, isn't it? I mean, someone said to him on the 10th of January this year when I think Blackburn were playing someone like Rotherham that in 4 months' time you're going to Germany, he'd have fallen off his chair. I mean, it's just, I think he's played 17 games for Palace. I saw Palace put out on their Twitter, he's great to watch, and they put a little compilation of like his time with us. And you can see how few games it is, but in each of these games, his key passes, his key tackles. And it's quite a story.
It is quite a story, and he's only ever played once for the under 21s earlier this year. He did play for the under 19s in 2022 for England, so he's been in and around England squads. Gel, you want to come in?
No, that's what I was going to say. I'm just on his Wikipedia page now, and he's it's not his first rodeo playing for England at Wembley. He's played at other levels, 18, 19, 20s, I think he is. So But yeah, can I just say about the Adam Walton thing is the more that I've been on, the Blackburn pages and other Championship sides, that they're fans that have chipped in about Walton. Yeah. Every single person has turned around and said that he was destined to play for a big club, and they're utterly amazed that he plays for us. But they're not surprised. They're not. But they said they can't believe that we were able to sign him. That he hasn't immediately gone to Liverpool, Man United, or Man City.
Well, I'll tell you why that is the case, because we said this on the podcast before, where we researched this when he first signed for us back in February. Dougie Freedman was at his Blackburn debut, whenever that was on the timeline. I can't remember, in 2022. He made his debut for Blackburn in the Championship, and Freedman was in the crowd that day just to watch Adam Walton. That's how good that guy is as a sporting director. Picking out the talent of young players, championship players, as we've proven time and time again. Nick?
Yeah, just wanted to mentioning about how grounded he is. I don't know if you saw his Sky Sports interview today, or the England put him up and they played it out on the Sky. Not just him, but the way he speaks is, for a young kid, and that's all he is, a young kid with this meteoric rise, how well he speaks and how grounded he is, okay? And you can tell why he's so grounded. Did you see the interview with his dad? What a nice chat.
Yes.
What a nice chat. So grounded, such a nice fella. I just wish the guy every success.
Absolutely. I think his dad said he had breakfast with Harry Kane. He mentioned it as if it was a notable thing. It was really quite amusing. And then the other thing, and I'm not sure if we've got a picture of this, Nigel. I think we did have one in the back, but we didn't talk about it pre-show. If you can find it, don't worry if you can't. The picture of Adam and the Prince of Wales when Prince William was presenting the players with their official commemorative shirts for the Euros. And every player had their photograph taken with the Prince. But I thought the Adam Wharton one, he can't have begun to have dreamt that would ever happen, at the turn of this year, can he? He just cannot. It's stuff, there it is, stuff that dreams are absolutely made of. Look at that picture, guys.
Well done, Nigel.
Yeah, brilliant. If you're listening on the podcast, I'm sorry you can't see it, but that's a fantastic picture. And he's beaming from ear to ear, and rightly so. And he'll remember that moment for the rest of his life. And I'm sure he's going to go on to many, many great things. Because he didn't get any minutes at Wembley the other night, which we were disappointed with, Paul, because we were there, weren't we, the other night in the crowd. Oh, look, there we are. Thanks, Nigel, for bringing that up. One of my selfies with Yaz and Ian Donald. So there we go. Thanks. We can take that picture down again now. Thanks very much. So we were there the other night. How disappointed were we, Paul, with the overall performance from England?
Yeah, I mean, as an England team performance, it was very poor. We heard the usual excuses on the way back, which I found quite insulting, to be honest. They were saying, "Oh, but it's the last friendly. Players aren't going to be playing their hardest. They don't want to get injured." Okay, there's probably an element of that, but I saw that Holland smashed Iceland 4-0 the other day, so teams can go out and do that. And it wasn't good. I ironically though, I think it was actually good for the Palace players in some ways. I think Mark Gay obviously got the whole 90 minutes. Yep. He looks to be the first choice centre back, barring injuries. Now I think Stones has cried off training again today because he's ill. So I think he's now probably the most reliable and probably the first choice centre back. So it was a good day for him. I think it was actually a good day for Adam Wharton because I thought Kobe Mainoo came in and I didn't think he impressed at all, really. So that's not going to hurt him at all. And again, to push it, I think Aaron Ramsdale didn't do himself any favours with the goal he conceded, to be honest. So that probably might have helped Dean Henderson in some loose way, possibly. But no, it was it wasn't a great performance, and you can make all the excuses in the world for it, but it was pretty poor, to be honest. But ultimately, it doesn't count. It's what we do next Sunday, and what team we pick based on the games he's seen. I actually also think you can't win either way. So I think the problem is by announcing the squad early, he also took away any incentive for the players to play for their place on Friday night. If they had all been trying to get a shirt, they might have played a better performance. But they all knew they were going, so they could, I hate the word coast, but they didn't have to go full pelt. But yeah, it was a poor performance to go off there. And let's hope we rectify that on Sunday next week. Yeah,
Mark, he was the only Palace starter, as you say, played the full 90. As England fell 1-0 at home to Iceland. And Eze, he was England's final sub of 6 on 77 minutes with little time to make an impact. Chell Holyoke.
Just quick going back to Grealish, about Jack Grealish and the players that sort of subsequently left the camp. There's nothing surprised me there. And again, Nick will tell you, I don't do rose-tinted glasses when it comes to our players, but Grealish is not better than Eze.
No.
He's not even in the same ballpark this year. He's only had half a season. He's had his injuries as well. And just one more thing, England relied on Gay to prop up, the defence on his own, surrounded by players with injuries. Now remember, he's only just come back himself. He's had one full game.
Yeah, absolutely. And even that was played out of position at the end of the season, wasn't it?
In midfield, that's exactly.
There we go. Nick.
Very quick point. Has anybody actually thought this through at all? The players that got picked, forget Walton, okay, he's only had a few weeks at Palace, we know that, okay? But the other 3 players that got picked for England only played half the season. Do you think they came into form because they weren't as tired as the likes of Grealish? Look at Henderson. He only played half the season because Johnson, Geehy was out injured for a long period of time, and of course Eze was out for a long period of time. Yeah. He came back in and hit a rich vein of form, and then got picked for England.
Well, I don't buy that in terms of Jack Grealish because he doesn't get many minutes at Man City anyway. I think Doku's probably played more than he has on the left wing, so I don't buy that one for Grealish. Maddison's been out injured after the season as well. He didn't make the cut. So, and Maguire the same. So, you can't argue that. Like Paul said earlier, I'm just a bit surprised he's taken the risk with Luke Shaw, but maybe he knows something about his condition that he will be fit for the second game. I hope so, for England's sake. But there we are. Right, guys, I'm going to move on from that just for now. Denmark, they warmed up against Scandinavian opposition, beating Sweden 2-1 and Norway 3-1, with Anderson playing just the opening 45 in the first game, but the full 90 in the second. We've sort of touched on this already, but not fully. What are our expectations for the Euros in terms of Palace players' minutes? Do we think Anderson, first of all, let's take him, likes to play every game for Denmark, do we think?
Yeah, he's a given starter, isn't he? Definitely.
Yeah, okay, so that's an easy one. Yeah. Mark Geehy, we've sort of touched on him, first choice centre-back. Do we think he's going to start for England on Sunday and play every game, if possible?
Yeah.
Again, he doesn't really have an alternative, though, does he?
No, not really. No, not really. What about Eze? Can we see Eze starting, Nick?
I don't think he'll start the first game. He'll certainly play the second game. I think he'll use Eze more as an impact sub. If I'm honest, that's how I feel Southgate will use him. We know different, of course, but
Gel, what do you think about Eze? Starter or not starter?
I'd love to see him on the left side doing what he does for us, but is he going to get through Rice, Bellingham, Foden? In that 4-man fit, I don't think they're established players as well. So, do I think he deserves to play? Yes. Do I think he will play? No. Do I think he'll be an impact sub? What I hope he doesn't do, right, is get 7 minutes to go out there and do your stuff. He needs half hour. You need 25, 30 minutes.
Yeah,
I'd be disappointed if he doesn't get at least a full game, though, no matter what.
Yeah, I think Wembley on Friday night proved that he needs longer than 10 minutes or so. I think it might be down to how they perform in training as well. I think Gareth puts quite a high sort of store on how players train. We've heard about Adam Wharton. What are your thoughts about Adam Wharton, Paul? Any starting position for him in the England 11?
It's really hard when I talk about things like this because we're biased. I mean, we have classes. I would play all 3 of them, but Adam Wharton to me, I think would be. I don't think he'd be out of place there. The sounding is Trent's going to play in midfield, which I don't like. I think is ridiculous. So I'd play Wharton, but no, I don't think. I think Geehy will be a starter. I think Wharton will be an option off the bench, and it's not the kind of position you bring someone on either. Really, if you're holding a game, I don't know. So I can't see him getting too much unless there's a few injuries or something, or he does come on as a stormer. Same with Eze. Sadly, there's players ahead of him, and as we've all said, he'll come on as an impact sub. If he does the business, then he'll get position. But again, a lot of it depends on results. If we win the first 2 games and are through, then in game 3, then people like Walton, Eze should get a start. And then if they do the business, like I say, they push them themselves. But there's too many factors. But yeah, as to say, I'd play them all, but I don't think Gareth will.
Joe.
So again, players on form. Wharton, as much as I love him, and the term Rolls Royce is being used everywhere with him. Is he better than Declan Rice? Because that's his position. No. So that's the thing. If Declan Rice has to run his nuts off for 70 minutes and then he's literally out on his feet or gets an injury, then Wharton is an absolute natural replacement for him. And also, I think what he does as well is the only thing Wharton gives over Rice is that Wharton is 2-footed and Rice isn't. So,
and Rice was eulogising about him, wasn't he? One of the oppressors the other day, saying what a great player he was. Paul Bristow, I think you're the only one that remembers this, Paul. He says, don't forget Jeff Hurst wasn't expected to start and play many minutes in the 1966 World Cup. Indeed, he didn't start the first game, but we all know what happened after that. Paul.
I think the big key here is actually Jude Bellingham and where he's going to play. There's a lot of talk that he could be the number 10. If he does that, then obviously there's 2 holding spots, which will help Wharton. But there is also, he could play with Rice. And then in that case, obviously, you've got 3 in front, which might help Eze. But yeah, depending on his position, it will obviously depend on will give a lot of.
And also depending on whether he's ready, Paul, because he's don't forget he's had least break than any of the other players, and Southgate holds a lot of hold on that.
I think that's where
Jill.
I think 4-4-1-1 is the only way that Bellingham that Wharton could get in. I think is 4-4-1-1 and stick Bellingham in front as the attacker up there with a bit like he does with Madrid, and then sitting behind a single forward. So I mean, I'd love that. I mean, to have Rice and Wharton in the midfield, crikey, that would be formidable.
I think what it does tell us all of this is that England have options. They have lots of options. They have strength in depth. They have players that can cover if players get injured. And, it's a tough old tournament. And it's a long old tournament as well. Don't forget there's an extra round in these Euros. 16 teams go through to the knockout stages from the groups of 6 groups of 4. So it's going to be an interesting tournament. But England have got strength in depth. And isn't it great that 4, not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 Crystal Palace players are in the England squad. A little bit of trivia for you guys in the chat. England in Italia 90, they had a squad that went to the semi-finals in Italia 90. But the highest represented club side in that England squad, I want to know if you know who that is. I'll give you a clue. It was an unusual and an unexpected answer that you're going to get for this one. So Crystal Palace are the surprise package this time. But who was the unexpected package for England in Italia 90? If you know, put the answer in the chat. It's not West Ham, Joan. That was 1966. Right, okay. Before we leave the Euros, just about Super 6. We've got a Super 6 running again for the Euros, starting obviously with match day 1. And Nigel, have we got there we go. And our code is, to join our mini league, is 2AYDU4. I'll say that again, 2AYDU4, all uppercase, if you want to join the Super 6 mini league. And also there is Euro Fantasy League as well. And I'm a big fan of fantasy football, but I wasn't going to play Euro Fantasy until I watched a video the other day and I thought, why not? So I've set up this red and blue review Euro Fantasy League. The code for this one is Quebec Mike uppercase, small Charlie uppercase Tango, lowercase Juliet Mike, QMCTJM for the Euro Fantasy League. If you play fantasy, do join us. If you play Super 6, do join us. Just a bit of fun while the tournament is on. Good. Okay. So we touched on the Copa America earlier, guys. Holders Argentina going to the tournament as favourites, I think. But Colombia last won in 2001. The tournament seems to happen every 2 or 3 years. There doesn't seem to be much rhyme nor reason to it. 16 teams from 2 confederations battle out to win the Copa America. Can our Colombian boys go all the way is the question I have for you. Paul Gear, what do you know about South American football?
I know it's always between Argentina and Brazil, and one of those will win it, not Colombia.
Not Colombia, don't think.
Sadly not.
Can't see it. Can't see it. Rob Cranfield got the answer to Italian 90. Rob, tell me you didn't Google it. Rangers is the correct and surprise answer. Scottish club Rangers. So Gel, Colombia. Interested in Copa America, Lerma and Munoz?
No.
Oh, look at that. This is a good discussion. Nick?
Right, I followed Sim Vickery on Twitter and listen to him quite regularly he does the overnight of Paul Ross on Talk Shy, okay? And he was talking about the possibility of how far they could go. And he actually put some second favourites behind Brazil ahead of Argentina. I'll keep my eye on it simply because I'm more concerned about our players, the amount of players who got away from the club that should be resting now that are playing football and therefore technically could get injured. So I will keep my eye on it.
Yeah, good man. Okay. Just want to touch briefly on the Olympics as well. We touched on this earlier. Elise and Mateta, good or a bad thing that they're going to the Olympics?
I was horrified when I first heard this because it's basically, I thought we'd wipe out their pre-season. It certainly wipes out their pre-season with us. But the more I've looked at it and the more I've thought of it, actually, by the time they go and start training, it'll probably be the same time Palace go back to training anyway. And they're going to be playing Olympic Games up until the last week before the season starts. So that is effectively their pre-season training. Unfortunately, it's a bit of a shame he won't be with us, but I think they're probably the two most key players to Palace that showed they understand what Glasner wants anyway from the end of last season. So he's not going to coach too much tactically into them. So it's not as bad as I first thought, but yeah, it's not ideal, is it?
Yeah, you just don't want them to get injured, do you, really?
No.
It's a second-rate tournament compared to the rest of them. And I still can't quite get my head around how France have not taken Elise to these Euros. I just think it's absolutely ridiculous. He's such a good player. And even on the form of the end of the last season, Mateta. But they must have better options. That's all I can say. The thing is, I don't know much about their better options. So we shall watch with interest as the Euros unfold to see why Elise and Mateta didn't go with France. Do we think, guys, that playing international football puts the chances of us losing the likes of Elise and Gahey at risk this summer? Someone asked this in the chat earlier. Come to you first, Nick.
Okay, I've got a bit of a off the wall theory on this. Personally, the one player I hope there's always a player within every squad that has a breakout performance and a breakout tournament. And I honestly hope and believe it will be Mark Gahey, and I'll explain why. Okay, Mark Gahey, to me, we've already established that he's going to be the starting centre-back. I hope that he has the tournament of his life. And the reason is he's already made it absolutely crystal clear that he has no intention of signing a new contract. So therefore, if he has a standout performance, a standout tournament, add another naught onto his value, okay? Because all the big boys are going to be circling. They're all going to be coming for him, okay? Man United could do with him straight away. Chelsea would do with him straight away. Liverpool would take him. Let's rinse the bastards, okay? Because he's not staying. He's not staying.
Okay,
So,
I think of all the players that we have, he's the one that's most likely to go, and probably the one that we would miss least if you look at the last 10 games of last season.
absolutely.
And I think I'm right in saying this. He's not got a buyout clause in his contract, Paul.
Not that I'm aware of, no. But he's also the one I've already replaced. We've effectively bought a centre back anyway, by all accounts. I think he was always on the cards to go for the book balancing on, and I'm hoping the philosophy is we sell him, we don't need to sell anyone else, and then hopefully we can convince the other guys to stay. Obviously, we know, as Andy said, we have potentially a problem. We might not be able to stand in their way, but hopefully if we raise the money we need through Mark, hopefully we can convince those guys to stay, and then that would be ideal summer for me. Perfect.
Joe?
My only worry about certain players being away on international duty is being, and I'm going to come straight out and say it's being tapped up, because listening to all these new podcasts that are out with Shearer and Lineker and Neville, and they get Scholes on, and you hear these, I don't know if you've ever heard the story that Paul Scholes was asked by Sir Alex Ferguson to sound out Steven Gerrard. I think if you've never heard that, watch the thing, whatever it's called, the thing that Gary Neville, the overlap. It is what is a fantastic. It's very, very good. And the last time when we beat Liverpool at Anfield at the very end, Trent Alexander was on the pitch in front of the Kop with Eze like that for about a solid minute. And I can't help but think that they weren't talking about going out for dinner or this, that, and the other. I think he'd have been turning around and saying, "How do you fancy playing in front of that every year?"
Maybe not. We don't know. It's all guesswork at the moment. Nick?
Yeah, I just want to answer a question in the chat. Dawn Palace has asked the question, and I am reading every single comment that goes through, by the way. And Monty, you mentioned this just a minute ago about the fifth player, Anderson. We did touch on that at the top of the show, mate. Dawn asked the question, have Chelsea got a buyback clause? Okay, let me answer that, okay, because the answer is no, but they do have a matching clause, which is something completely different. So if somebody comes in at 60 million quid, Chelsea are entitled to equal that bid. And if they do, then it was simply to be down to the player to decide on what he wants to do. So the answer is no, he doesn't have a buyback clause, but there is a matching clause.
There we go. We can't afford Trent, Gel Holiak, Paul Risto says. Thanks, Nick, for clearing that one up and answering that question. Okay, guys, I'm going to move us on because we need to keep an eye on the time. We want to try and do this within an hour. Of course, there's been a big announcement today at Crystal Palace. We didn't talk about it at the top of the show because the overall feeling and the overall vibe on this announcement has been largely negative on social media. Crystal Palace announced Net88 as shirt sponsor for 2024-25 season. Palace have announced they'll feature as the men's official front of shirt sponsor for the coming season. The record 2-year deal will see Net88 become a principal club partner with its logo also featured on the official training wear. In addition to the shirt branding, Net88, which provides online gaming services, will also receive visibility across Sellers Park on match days and on the club website. It goes on to quote Barry Webber, Chief Commercial Officer. I'm not sure I'd even heard of him before then. But guys, what are our thoughts on this? Because it's pretty negative across social media. Not many people want to see this happening. Nick, first of all, you've commented.
Yeah, I'm only going to tell you what's...
That's good.
It's already on there. It's Greg Ellis has actually put in there. If you are a recovering gambling addict and your team gets a gambling sponsor, how would that make you feel? And I actually said to him in the chat, something that Jill said to us pre-show, that apparently it's a gaming company, not a gambling company. And Andrew Adams has responded by saying it's a gambling company, Nick, or why would Be Gamble Aware be on the announcement and it's over 18s plus? Okay,
Jill, you had a view on this pre-show.
I did, and I'll stand to be corrected then. But listen, who do we get? Do we just turn around and say we won't have a shirt sponsor and try and win? There's no awards for morals in the Premier League. It's all about money, and if we need to compete, and these sponsors are coming up, it's a bit like we know for a fact that that there was Arab money that was looking at Palace, and loads of people went, "Oh, we don't want their blood money," but so did some of the Newcastle fans. But they didn't stop going to games. They still get 53,000 every week or whatever it is. It's all about morals. You can pick a moral out of every single company that, let's get sponsored by Microsoft or Facebook or whatever, and then go back to the film about Facebook, about, how the company coming into his hands. It's just about morals and what way you want to look at it. And if it's all about money, it's all about money. But,
Okay. Tell us in the chat what you think. Do you think this is just an ordinary shirt sponsor, or are you up in arms because it's a gambling or gaming company? Paul, what are your thoughts?
The word in that announcement is record. With all the issues with profit, sustainability, and money, if we're getting more money from this company than other, we have to take it. We don't have to stand yet. We need to bring in as much money as we can to compete and to stick with the rules. So, sadly, if it's a gambling company, it's a gambling company. It's a 2-year deal because obviously in the start of 26-27, all gambling sponsors are banned on the front of Premier League shirts anyway. So, it feels like we've just sort of shoehorned that into the final 2 years of it. But yeah, it is as it is. As Jill says, you can't pick and choose where you get money in this game anymore. It's too important to take the high road because you need the cash.
Yeah, Fergus says they should give us the option to buy shirts without advertising. Interesting one. I think that's happened once before. On Twitter or X, whatever we like to call it, there's a guy called Matt, and Matt he's tweeted earlier today, 2 hours ago. Glasner has done extensive work on anti-gambling campaigns in both Austria and Germany. So can't imagine that this will sit well with him. Had a notorious row, apparently, at Frankfurt and threatened to walk before they cancelled a sponsorship with a dodgy company. So I responded by saying, that's a massive own goal, if true. We have no reason now to doubt Glasner's views, which are probably aligned to many. I don't necessarily expect a club to check that the manager is happy with a deal, but surely they should know the backstory and potentially not take a risk. Yasmin Broom says there's plenty of other large companies out there. But as Jill has already said, whichever company you choose or has prepared to part with the money, there'll be some skeletons in somebody's cupboard somewhere, I expect. And whatever we think about it, there's not much we can do about it. The only thing we can do, I guess, if you feel really strongly, is you simply don't buy a replica shirt next season. And Paul, will you have your replica shirts hanging up behind you next season?
Next season, unfortunately, anyone who doesn't like the new sponsor will have to hide my part of the screen because it will be plastered on my wall on various shirts, no doubt.
They will be behind you. Jill.
Big companies go to big teams, and what way you look at it, we're not, we're not one of the big six. We're not one of the big eight. We've only just become part of the Big Ten. So, it's just it is what it is. But like you said, the other thing is I don't think that they put any gaming sponsors on the kids' kits, do they? They can't put it on that. So listen, Palace, if they really want to take a moral high road, right, they can sell one of the 3 kits without a sponsor's logo on it and see how that goes. If they want to take the moral high grounds, then do that and then see what happens. But what you also get, you'll be able to gauge the feeling then of the buying public that if that shirt outsells other 2 shirts by 5 to 1, 10 to 1, don't you? That's the thing.
People vote with their feet or with their cash.
Exactly. But like I say, at the moment, it's all about money, and we do need money. We're about to start paying a lot of other players big money to try and sustain what we're trying. The growth within the club. Growth within the club means more money.
And this segues nicely into what I'm going to say next. Nick Philpott, we're looking for a little bit of sponsorship on this show next season, aren't we?
You and I were thinking exactly on the same run. You're a professional. You're damn good at this, Noble, I'm telling you. Ladies and gentlemen, Ian is absolutely right. We are about to enter into our most successful, let's hope our most successful ever Premier League season. It will either be 2 cup games, a Carling Cup and a FA Cup, or it'll be a dozen of both, and we go all the way to the finals. We would like to reach out to anybody out there that would feel like dropping us a couple of grand as sponsorship for the whole season. And you will get regular updates on the show. You'll get regular name checks on the show. We would rather it not be a gambling company because I do have morals, okay? I would rather it's not an alcohol company because I do have morals, and I don't want to encourage it because there are children watching this show. But if there's anybody out there that has links to an organisation, anybody in particular, and you think they would like to have their name regularly put on our screen on all our shows, please get in touch with either myself or any of the team here at Red and Blue Review, and we will happily sit down around the table, have a coffee with you, and discuss things. Give you some shout.
Indeed, and we are. I think we're the only podcast that has a former player on a regular basis in Jim Cannon. And I spoke to John Solarco this week, and he is definitely coming on our show next season. So that's 2 ex-players that we'll have joining us, hopefully on a more regular basis. Nick, we need to move on because we haven't got long left. And I promised you we'd have some time to talk about transfers. It's been well reported that we have 2 over the line already almost, even though the window hasn't officially opened yet. Tell us about those, Nick.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Yeah, so quite a lot going on. We're not going to really cover the potential losses within the squad because we know most about those. So we're going to touch first of all on one that I'm really happy with and one that I'm a little bit dubious about, and I'm going to start with that one first. Daichi Kamada, Crystal Palace have already taken care of a medical. And interesting picture there, boys and girls. Look at that picture there. Most of these clubs that he's been connected with have got an eagle on their emblem in some form or another. Kamada has had one part of his medical last week, and it's reported to be believed we've agreed a €14 million euro. Sorry, he's the free transfer, and he's set for his second part of his medical sometime next week, we understand. And we've also, by the sound of it, signed Moroccan international defender Chadi Riyad, and he's been linked with Palace now for a few weeks. The 20-year-old has spent the season on loan at Real Betis from Barcelona. Riyad is a under-23 African Cup of Nations winner with Morocco and received his first call-up for the Moroccan national team in January earlier this year. He also played 1 minute in the 22-23 season with Barcelona, which qualified him for a La Liga medal. We've also been touched with, and I know we don't do massive bouts on speculation, but there's been serious links and I believe also talks with Bellingham. No, not that one. The other one. Okay, Joe Bellingham, and he's somebody that I know Glaston's been very interested in, and of course the other one, of course, is Ben Johnson. Now, Ben Johnson, if we do sign Ben Johnson from West Ham, this is something that stems back pre-Glasner. We were certainly looking at him last year. Joe, you're shaking your head. Maybe we'll touch on your thoughts on that in a second. It's been a long-running link between us and West Ham and Ben Johnson because I believe he's also going to be available on the free. Other ones that they've looked at, of course, it wouldn't be a transfer window without Eddie Nketiah. He's coming above the parapet. I think we would need to lose Edouard before that one would get anywhere over the line. And the other one is the Mirror says that Liverpool made contact with Crescendo Somerville, who's also a target for Crystal Palace, around £30 million. That would, to me, also lead in another direction, which we're not going to cover tonight, okay? But because that would be a potential outgoing before that one got anywhere near it. Ian, I'll come to you first and then bring the boys in.
Yeah, I mean, one you haven't mentioned, which has been linked with us, he's a South London boy, is Arsenal's Emil Smith-Rowe. I know he's linked with lots of clubs. So I think Fulham, Brighton, Brentford, they're all interested in him. Arsenal said he can leave for 30 million. So that's one that I think could be of interest. I think apart from the Riyad and the Kamada, they're all speculation at this stage. And as someone said, Philip Swan Davis said, I don't believe anything until you see him holding the shirt up. And of course, we understand all that. But we don't get a chance to talk about this kind of stuff very often pre-season. So we thought we'd throw it in there. Ben Johnson as well at West Ham, according to West Ham sources, he's been offered a new deal by West Ham today, which he's considering. So, you know, there's he might even stay there, I guess.
Holding the shirt up. I mean, we have players turn up at the club that don't even hold the shirt up. They just turn up at the training grounds. People go, oh, have we signed them? Or I don't know. And then you see them drive in their car. You're like, oh, we have signed them then. Sometimes we're so nonchalant when it comes to signings. Everyone else, triumphs their new arrivals, but we don't. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't like to see that Ben Johnson. I'm not a fan. Do I think he would enhance our club? No, I don't. And there's a reason why. We rarely get players off of West Ham. I mean, we're better. But
Tompkins.
Tompkins.
Christ.
For 10 million quid, yeah. Defence race. I'm just going to finish up.
I said really. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think the most important point out of all of this is, as Ian's already alluded to, the transfer window doesn't open until, I think, is it this Friday?
Yeah, it's Friday, 14th of January.
Yeah. And it looks as though Palace are getting their ducks in a row really early, which is so unlike Crystal Palace. And what they clearly is indicating is that they're backing the manager very early. I mean, both those players, Kamada and Riyad, that they've both had links with Glasner before. So he's obviously said, that's what I want, go and get it. And by the look of it, the club are actually playing ball a little bit here. Back to you, Ian.
Indeed. Okay, thanks, guys. We are running out of time this evening, guys. Just to say also that, of course, Jory Riedewald, James Tompkins and Nathan Ferguson have all left the club. Nathaniel Klein has signed a one-year deal based on his 19 appearances last season since we last broadcast. And Remy Matthews is considering a new deal. Some are saying he's already signed it. Of course, Ward and Slupp have renewed for another year as well. Few things to say before we leave. Just to highlight the two fixtures that have been announced pre-season. We play Wolverhampton Wanderers on Wednesday, the 31st of July in Maryland. It's the same ground that Crystal Palace Baltimore used to use, apparently. And then on Saturday, the 3rd of August, just 2 weeks before the new season starts, we play that team, West Ham, from the old East End at the Raymond James Stadium in Florida. I think both of those games kick off about midnight UK time, but you can probably watch them on Palace Player if you can be bothered to stay up that late. No other games have been announced, but I expect us to announce a pre-season friendly, of course, around the 10th of August before the season starts on the 17th. Fixtures, on the other hand, are announced next Tuesday, the 18th. Is that right? Have I got that day right? Yeah, next Tuesday. Fantastic. A really exciting day, 9 a.m. in the morning to find out who we're going to play first. I'm banking on Southampton away in the first game because I'm on holiday on the Isle of Wight that weekend. Paul, who do we want first up?
A promoted team like Sheffield last year. Let's go somewhere. Let's get 3 points.
So Southampton, okay.
Yeah, that'll help you out. I've got a funny feeling it'll be Everton at home, but obviously, like you, I look at the fixture list and I miss one game a season when I go to Vegas in October for my birthday. So my first looking is to see which game I'm going to miss.
Very good, very good. Joe, you wouldn't care who we're playing first.
Arsenal
first. We played Arsenal first a couple of years ago, didn't we, on a Friday night? I hope that doesn't happen again. Nick, who are we playing first? Any thoughts?
Chelsea away.
Chelsea away. Okay. Say anything, can we? Got 1 in 38 chance of getting it right. Very good. Apparently, our YouTube channel. Do subscribe to our YouTube channel, guys. And if you click on the community tab on the Red and Blue Review YouTube channel, you will see all kinds of quiz questions in there that our producer guy Nigel has put together. So that's our place for our quizzes now. Do go and have a look there, and that'll keep you entertained during these Euros. Coming up at Selhurst Park this weekend, apparently we've got some boxing. There he is, Ricky Rekapor, the Palace lad who comes out declared all over. And apparently there are still some tickets available if you fancy a bit of boxing on Saturday night, I believe. Is it Saturday the 15th? Yeah, that's right. So that's happening this weekend at Selhurst. What else have I got to say? Right, I think that is everything from me. Can Palace win the Euros, Nick Philpott? Oh, he's frozen. No, he isn't. Can Palace win the Euros? Oh, he's frozen. I'll come to you. I'll come back to you. Paul Gear, can Palace win the Euros?
Yeah, we can. We were one of the favourites, obviously. I think we'll fall just short as always. But to be honest, if all the 4 Palace players give themselves due credit, then if England don't win it, that's secondary.
Jill, can we win the Euros?
No, I think France will win it.
Okay, you think France? We're going France semi-finals. Nick, what are you saying?
I'm saying frozen. England finals. I'm not frozen. I'm here.
You're here.
Speak.
Can you hear me? Right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right. I'm not saying I'm going to go England finals, but if we do go ahead and win it, I need to fill everybody's diary for the next 30 years. Don't forget, in 1966, West Ham won the World Cup. In 2024, Palace are going to win the Euros.
Absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for joining us tonight. To Nick, Paul and Jill for joining me on the show, and to producer guy Nige for all the hard work in the background. Thanks to each and every one of you for watching the show, for commenting. Nick will read all the comments. Enjoy the Euros. and up the Palace. Good evening.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.